Hello everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at the new features included in the Power BI Desktop November 2015 update. Today we're releasing this new Power BI Desktop update and it's actually loaded with tons of new features. We're releasing 26 new features in this release. This list of features includes lots of features spread across all of the areas in the product, ranging from 6 new data connectors to 15 new report authoring capabilities. We also got some data modeling and data preparation features. Here's actually the list. Let's start by taking a look at the report authoring features. We have 15 new features this month for report authoring. The first one of them being the play axis for scatter chart. This is one popular feature in scatter charts that was available in Excel Power View, and it's the ability to define a play axis based on a series dimension, for instance dates, numbers, etc. This feature was missing in Power BI Desktop, but it's been added in this release. So let's take a look at how you can use this feature. Let's go into an existing Power BI Desktop report. I have this report which has the following scatter chart. Now for an existing scatter chart I can actually use a new configuration field that's called the play axis, as you can see here at the bottom right of the screen, and I can actually drag and drop any field that's either a date or a numeric or even text field into this play axis area. And when I do that, you see how the visualization actually reconfigure, and now I have this new play axis at the bottom, so I can just click the play button to start playing the animation starting from the first values, the first years. I can also click to pause, or I could even use the slicer to actually move faster throughout. Alright, so that would be for the first feature. Let's take a look back on the list to the second feature this month on the report authoring area. It's horizontal slicers. So in this update we're adding support for controlling the orientation of the slicer items, so you can switch between vertical orientation, which was the previous behavior, and horizontal. So let's take a look at how you can use this feature. Let's make some room for it within this report page, and let's create a new slicer control. So for instance we can use the country field. So if we turn this into a slicer, you see how by default we use vertical orientation. Now you can actually go into the formatting pane, you go under the general section, and here you have orientation. So the default is vertical, and now you can actually switch this to horizontal. Let's make this a little bit bigger, and you can see how it actually now you can place this with a horizontal orientation, and then you can easily just mouse over and click on specific items that you would like to pick within this slicer. The next feature this month is the ability to control the selection behaviors within slicers. So this is another improvement for slicer visuals. You can now decide whether to have a select all option, and also you can control whether you would like your slicers to behave with a multi-select versus single select behavior. Let's take a look at this feature. We're going back to our report where we have this slicer. So once we select the slicer, we can go back to the formatting pane, and now we have a new section for selection controls. Here you can toggle select all on and off, and when you do, you see this new select all option. So now if I pick something from the slicer and I click back into select all, it will actually select all of the items, as you can see here. The other option is the ability to single select or multi-select. So if I turn this into single select and I select one item, let's actually uncheck select all. If I select one item and then I select a second item, this will actually behave like a single selection, so it completely changes from one item to the other. It makes them mutually exclusive. Though if I make this single selection option to be back off, now I can actually click on multiple items to actually see them showing up on the scatter chart, and of course on all of the other visualizations here. Okay, the next feature, the fourth feature on the report authoring this month, is the ability to control the C order of your visualizations in the canvas. And so what is this feature about? So with this feature you can actually control whether some items will show at the front or the back, or either send them forwards and backwards relative to different items within your reports. Let's go into a different report to actually demonstrate how powerful this can be. Let's take a look at this report. I have some data about a few football teams, and I actually have this visualization over here, which actually looks like a soccer field with a bunch of data points that would represent where the players from every given team were actually trying to shoot, basically shoot during the games. If you think about how this was built, actually these are a couple of different elements. There is at the back there is this image, and then at the front there is actually this scatter chart. I'm actually gonna undo so it's perfectly overlaid. So as you can see now, we actually have the right C order selection because we have the scatter chart points showing up at the front. Though we could actually configure this, so we would use the arrange menu and actually we could send this to the back. So this is of course not what we want, but imagine that we have studied the other way around, where we actually added first the scatter chart and then the picture on top. Now we can actually arrange this and send it to the back, so that it actually, let's send to back. Let's actually select the image first and then I can send to back. So this actually looks like what I would like to have, and as you can see we have 4 different options. We have the ability to bring an item to the front or send it to the back, or we can just do bring forward and send backward, which would move them up or down or front and back one level at a time. So if you had 3 or more items, you'd actually be able to benefit from bring forward and send backward as well. Great. The next feature this month is the ability to control the background colors for slides. So we've added a new option to customize the background for each of your report pages. The option is available in the formatting pane, so let's go take a look. We're back into this report. So if we select the background of a page, so we basically click on an empty area of a page so that it selects the page and it deselects any other control within that page or any other visualization item. We can now go into the formatting pane and we have information about the page, so you can modify from here even the name or provide a description, the size, which you all know about probably, and then the background. The background color by default is white, but you can change this to any other color, so let's pick some light blue for example. And it's easily, as you can see, you can change it. You can pick from a predefined set of colors or go and use a custom color, just like with any other custom color that you can define in Power BI Desktop, which you can apply today to many other elements. We've made that available for your page backgrounds, and this could also be done across different pages, and you could have different colors per page as you want. So that gives you lots of flexibility in terms of customizing how your report pages look. The next item this month is the ability to configure the interactions between visuals. This is also known as sub-view or tile by, and it basically, if you think about how Power BI Desktop visualizations work, so let's go back to our report, you would see how when you select an item from a specific visual, you see how all of the other visualizations within the same page actually update to either cross-filter or cross-highlight the data. So in this case, when I click Arsenal, it's actually filtering the scatter chart items to only show the ones for Arsenal. And this other chart over here, this bar chart, is actually cross-highlighting. So as you can see, it highlighted these 5 out of the total number, which was 14. So you can actually, with this update, start configuring these behaviors. So you can select one visual. Let's say that we want to select this tree map here with information about the teams. And now we can go into the ribbon and click the Visual Interactions Edit button. When we do that, we're going to be able to fully configure for each one of our different report elements in the page. We're going to be able to configure the behavior. So we would, as you can see, we would be able to go into one of them, for instance the scatter chart, and would be able to say whether we would like it to filter the data or we would like it to just not do anything. So if I click the not do anything option, which we're gonna see, actually I click on the wrong item, so sorry about that. So let's go back and select this tree map. So now we can, let's do it on this guy over here. So we can apply that rather than filtering the data, it could just apply no type of visual interaction with this guy. So think about it as a master detail kind of relation. You could select any visual and then configure all of the interactions whenever there is a selection made on that visual. So right now, if I disable the edit mode for visual interactions and I click on Arsenal, you see how all of the visuals are updated except for this card with number of goals, which keeps the total number of 10. I can go back and customize this so that there's a few more visuals that don't react. So for instance, let's look at this bar chart. Rather than highlighting, we will actually like to define this as a filter, and as you can see now it just applied that filter. So if I switch to a different team like Bristol Rovers, you see how this bar chart actually refreshed, but all of the others, with the exception of number of goals, they actually filter the data except number of goals which remain the same. As you can see, lots of flexibility now in how you can configure visual interactions between all of the elements within a given page in your report. Okay, let's take a look at the next feature on the list for report authoring. We are on number 7, duplicate pages. How many of you have requested this feature? It's actually something that we've heard from many of you. You'd like to basically be able to duplicate pages in the report because you'd like to save time. You are building reports with multiple pages which have a similar layout in terms of the number of items and number of visualization items within the page, and you would like to just duplicate that page so that you can use it as a template to start customizing the content on the subsequent pages. We've added this new option, so you can now right click on the page, click duplicate page, and that creates a duplicate of that page that you can then start configuring and make different just to continue working on the content of your report. The next item on the list is support for KPIs and images in tables, metrics, and card visualizations. We've enabled support for these two elements, images and KPIs, in these types of visualizations, tables, metrics, and card. So in order to use KPI elements, you can consume them from a data source that support KPIs, for instance analysis services or Excel Power Pivot models. For images, you can actually enable images in your reports by categorizing a text column that contains an image URL. You could categorize that as an image URL. So let's actually take a look at how that could be done. We're going to go to this report that has a table on it that has basically information about the Super Bowl champions since the year 2000, for those of you who are football fans. And we have this column called logo that actually holds the URLs to the actual images for those logos. We can select this field in the field list, and then we could go into the ribbon, Data Tools, Modeling, and go to the data category drop down. By default, we define it as uncategorized, but you could customize that to image URL. As soon as you do that, we're going to go and retrieve the image from those URLs. So as you can see, there's the logos of the NFL teams that won the Super Bowl in the last few years. The next feature this month is improvements that we've done to tooltips on area charts and line charts. So we've basically made a few improvements to the logic to display these tooltips, so that when the tooltips show up, they don't overlap with the actual data points. The next item on the list is the ability to change the text size in cards, tables, and metrics. So let's take a look at how we can do this, and let's use this same report. So I selected this table visualization, and now I can go into the formatting pane, and I can go under the general section, and I have this field for text size, which I can customize. So I can just use this slider to make it bigger, and as you can see, that's probably too big. As you can see, the text size on this table actually changed. So this is available now for cards, tables, and matrix. The next item on the list, number 11, is improved tooltips and labels in the fill well and in the formatting panes. So we've basically added lots of tooltips on the formatting pane to basically explain what each of the items are. Think about this as a usability or in-product documentation improvement, so that with all of those new options that we keep adding month after month, you don't get lost and you are able to actually get some help about how to use any specific formatting option. The next item on the list is the ability to see categories with no data. So visualizations will now start displaying categories with no data. For instance, if you have a column chart with lots of categories, you'll be able to display all of the categories in the x-axis, even if you had applied some filter condition, for instance, that made the y-axis value, the measure, be 0. So basically, now you're not going to be able to you're not going to see by default all of those items disappear, but you'd rather actually see the items show up in the x-axis with an empty value in the y-axis. That way you don't feel like they're getting lost or you're getting confused trying to scroll up and down to find them on the list. The next item on the list is the improved default sort behavior for visuals. So we've improved the default sorting behavior for items within a visual. For instance, when displaying a column chart, we will by default sort ascending using the value in the categorical axis, or when you're sorting by the measure being displayed, we will default to using a descending sort using that same measure. The next to last item this month on the report authoring area is the ability to control the axis scale display units. So it's now possible to customize the display units in the axis values. The option is available on the y-axis section in the formatting pane. You'll be able to basically select between the units such as millions, billions, thousands, or none, so that it would actually display the raw value, or also leave it as auto, which is the default behavior, so it will basically adjust based on the actual data content that you're displaying in the visualization. The last item on the report authoring this month is the set of optimizations. So this is not about a new capability, but actually something that will make the experience in using the product much better. So we've made some optimizations so that many basic modeling operations do not require refreshing all of your report visuals anymore. So you can apply some modeling operations, for instance, show height fields, all of the formatting options, modifying the default summarization or default categorization field for basically the value for a specific field, and that will result in just refreshing the visuals that are impacted by that change rather than all visuals, which was the case before this previous release. So something that will hopefully make it much easy and smooth for you to actually work in the product. Let's take a look at the second category of improvements this month. This is data modeling. We have one improvement this month under data modeling, but it's actually a very important one. So this month we are adding the first set of automatic date capabilities to the product. This is something that many of you have requested, and it's just a first step, so think about it as just the first wave of capabilities. There will be more coming down the road, so don't get upset if something that you wanted is not there yet. We're aware of the next steps to take. You also should feel free to still suggest improvements to this feature using our feature suggestions forum or Smile and Frown. So this first wave of automatic date features consists on automatic detection of date columns in a visual and enabling drill down and drill up behaviors. So let's take a look at an existing report that I have over here. And I have this line chart which shows total sales by order date. So this is the behavior that you'd get with every product version before this November update, where you actually don't get any out-of-the-box aggregation or drill up and drill down capabilities for time series or date series. Now let's go ahead and create a new one. For instance, I'm going to go into the order details table, and I'm going to drag total sales, and let's make this bigger. And now I'm going to drag the time series which I have on the orders table. That's going to be the order date. So I'm going to drop this into the axis, and as soon as I do that, you notice how we actually expand this to show year, quarter, month, and day. And you can actually always go back to the previous behavior by clicking order date. That would show a continuous line, or in this case a bunch of columns without any drilled up or drilled down capabilities. But if I keep it like this, you'll actually notice how in the top of a visual we actually show these controls, which, if you're familiar with drill down and drill up capabilities that we have for other data types, you are going to be able to basically either say drill all to the next level. So rather than showing this by year, we show it by quarter, and this would aggregate the total sales for each of these quarters across all of the years in our report. Likewise, if I drill down to the month level, or if I go all the way back up, so let's go back to sales by year, I could enable, click here to turn on the drill down mode, and now when I single click on say 1997, I will actually drill down to that specific year. Quarter 4 would actually drill down and show me the data. I can drill down to October and get down to the day level. So as you can see, I can easily navigate, drill up and drill down to redo my aggregates, either by grouping by a different unit, either years, quarter, months, and days, or I could actually use that to navigate up and down to basically filter down my data to a specific time range. As I said, this is our first wave of support for time or date time intelligence in the product. We're going to continue making incremental improvements over the next few months. So please let us know what you think and share your feedback so we can improve this feature. The next group of improvements this month is data connectivity. So this month we're actually adding lots of new data connectors to Power BI Desktop. We're adding 6 new data connectors, which many of them are actually being highly demanded in our feature suggestions forum by many of you. So we think it's going to be pretty exciting. How about the first one? SQL Server Analysis Services Multi-Dimensional Exploration Mode. So we are enabling exploration and live mode for Analysis Services multi-dimensional models. This is one of the most commonly requested features by many of you, and we're really glad to announce its availability. This is actually shipping as a preview feature, so the first thing that you will need to do is enable this feature in the preview features dialog, so we can show you how to do that. You can go into the file menu, options and settings, go to the options dialog. Within this dialog you can go to preview features under global, and you will have a couple of them. The second one is explore live with SQL Analysis Services multi-dimensional models. I'm going to actually click cancel because it was already enabled. So once you've enabled this, you can actually go ahead and create a new connection to Analysis Services. For that, you can go into the Get Data dialog, and we can find SQL Server Analysis Services database. Click Connect, and in this dialog you're going to be able to specify the server name and then pick the mode that you would like to use, either Explore Live or Import Data. So these two modes were already available for Analysis Services tabular models. This month we're actually making this available also for multidimensional. So this is a multidimensional Analysis Services model server. I'm going to keep the Explore Live option, and I'm going to click OK. Now Power BI Desktop is going to go ahead and establish a connection against this Analysis Services database, and I'm going to be able to browse all of the databases available within the server, and I can go down to the cube level, so I can see AdventureWorks. I get some metadata like when was the last time that this cube was modified, and I also get information about the dimensions and measures available within this cube. So basically something that will help me identify which cube I should connect to from the list on the left. Let's go with this one, with AdventureWorks. And now when we click OK, you see how immediately we establish the connection. You see here at the bottom right of the screen how it says direct connection connected, and we got all of the items from the multidimensional model over here. So in order to use this feature, you actually need to have SQL Server 2012 Service Pack 1 CU4 or above, and you'll be able to consume default members, dimension attributes, dimension calculated members, attribute types, measures as variant, KPIs, image URLs, and dimension security. So you will realize and you will notice how the feature still does not support hierarchies, display folders, KPI trends, translations, and non-aggregatable attributes. You will also notice that with this build you cannot still publish the report connecting to multidimensional models to the Power BI service. So all of these limitations will be removed. These capabilities will be added in subsequent updates before we hit general availability with this connector. So for instance, let's go and actually create something based on this cube. So we can select something like the sales summary, and we can pick the revenue. And we can also pick the revenue status. Let's turn that into a table. So as you can see, we have support for KPIs. Let's actually make this bigger so you can see better, since we have that feature, right? Alright, so you can actually now go ahead and pick a few more things. So let's go and pick something like category. So let's bring the product category, and you can see how now we can visualize the total revenue by category as well as the KPI for revenue status. This is all coming from Analysis Services multidimensional model right now. As you saw, as I was doing the defining the visual, there was a little bit of lag in visualizing it, because it actually, with every new configuration step that I did and every new field that I dragged into this table, Power BI Desktop reached out to the Analysis Services multidimensional server to actually run that calculation and bring back the aggregated data for me. Great, so as I was saying, a very important milestone for us with adding support for Analysis Services multidimensional models to Power BI Desktop. The feature is available in preview for now, and we're going to be working through the current limitations that I mentioned, and we look forward to your feedback so we can improve the feature over the next few months as well. The second new connector this month is a new connector for SAP HANA. So SAP HANA is a very important enterprise BI data source, and Power BI connectivity is something that many of our enterprise customers have been asking for. We are adding this new connector that will basically give you the opportunity to start connecting to your information models in SAP HANA. That includes analytic views and calculation views, and so you'll be able to bring that data into Power BI Desktop. In order to use this feature, you're going to need to install the SAP HANA ODBC driver on your client machine, and this driver can be downloaded from the SAP Marketplace. So if you actually don't have access to the SAP Marketplace, check with your IT department to get access to this driver. This is something that they'll be able to download as administrators of your SAP system. So let's take a look at this new connector. The connector actually supports both direct query and import mode. So let's take a look. It's under Get Data. Shows up under Database. SAP HANA is the last option down here. So the first thing it gives me is a disclaimer that this is just a beta connector for now. It's still under development, and we might make some changes to it to improve the capabilities over the next few months. If I click continue, I'm going to be able to provide a server name, which I do have in this text file over here. So let me copy paste that. At this point, I'll be able to actually provide a SQL statement if I want to. That would basically run that specific query, that specific SQL statement. But if I don't provide that statement and I just click OK, I'm going to be able to just navigate the list of models and the list of views so that I can select one or multiple items. So in this case I can go expand these contents, and I can go into AdventureWorks, find this model, reseller sales demo, and here I can start picking a few fields. So for instance, I can pick sales amount, and you see at this point how we actually give you a preview of that predefined view, but in this case it's actually a parameterized view, and I can pick a specific value for a product category. So let me add something here, like, well, let's first add order quantity, and you see how the preview gets updated. And I can also bring the category, so English product category name. So now we can see the total sales by category, and optional parameter for this specific view is the ability to filter by product category value. So if I pick number 1, that's going to be accessories, I believe, and I click apply, it's actually bikes. So you can see how it actually refreshes the preview, and it lets me invoke this parameterized view and display the result. If for some reason this is not what I wanted, I could always clear that value back and just leave the full set without passing any optional parameter. And at this point I could click load, and when I click load, you see this connection settings dialog. So this is basically the ability to switch between import mode and direct query mode. So in this case I can actually use direct query, which will then establish the connection against this SAP HANA server, and just create the list of fields in the fields list, and from here I'll be able to actually start drag and dropping fields into my report, just like with any other direct query data source in the product. Great. The next new feature this month is actually RScript. So we have added another new connector this month that will let you actually run R scripts on your locally installed R environment. So this new R script connector can be found in the other category under get data. So let's actually go back to new Power BI desktop instance. Let's actually go to an existing one. So we can go, for instance, to this one, Super Bowl champions. And we can go into get data, and now we can type RScript, and we will find it. It's actually available under other category if you prefer to browse for it. When you click connect, it will give you the same warning that this is a beta connector, and here in this dialog you're gonna be able to provide the RScript that you would like to execute on your local R environment, and then you'll be able to import the resulting data frames into Power BI Desktop. So let's go and find my R script that I would like to run. It's basically that one. So this script is actually using the forecast package, the forecast library, and it's actually reading usage data for a specific website and then applying some forecasting algorithm so that it will project and estimate what the forecasted visits to that website will be over the next few days. You can actually see under the R installation settings that it automatically detected my R environment folder. If you don't have R installed, you could actually follow this hub link that it will give you step-by-step instructions for how to properly set up your R environment for Power BI Desktop to be able to connect to it. And you could also, of course, provide just the file path to your local R environment if it was not detected right. So now when I click OK, Power BI Desktop is going to go ahead and run this R script using the local R environment, and it returned these two data frames which I had defined as the output values from my R script. So at this point, this is just like any other Power BI Desktop data source where I can get this navigation experience and I can preview the data and actually select one or multiple tables, and at this point I could either load the data or click edit to actually perform additional data transformations before I load the data. In this case, let's just click load. Alright, and here I have my new actual data and predicted data table so that I can start creating my custom visualizations. Great, let's take a look at the next new connector this month, which is Direct Query. So last month we released a preview of Direct Query connectivity for SQL Server and Azure SQL Database. As you know from last month, or if you don't know, you're going to know really soon, Direct Query allows users to work against remote data sources, and it also lets you create visualizations without having to import the data to the local model. So basically, every new visualization that you create in your report will actually reach back to that data source and run the specific query to retrieve the data that it needs in order to create that visualization. This month, we're moving that preview feature, Direct Query, into a mainstream and generally available feature, so you no longer need to enable this under the preview features dialog, and instead it will just be, you'll be asked which mode to use when you connect through either SQL Server and Azure SQL databases. We actually saw this also in the SAP HANA demo that I just showed earlier in this video. So in addition to those three sources, SAP HANA, SQL Server, and Azure SQL Database, we're also enabling this for another data source, which is Azure SQL Data Warehouse. The set of experiences and capabilities for this source are the exact same ones as you would get for all of the others. And the last point is actually that we're improving the publish report experience when you use these Direct Query sources. So if you think about it, once you create a report using Direct Query and you publish that to the Power BI service, every person or every user that accesses that report in the service will actually need to be connected to that data source, so that when you consume that visualization, that report, the visualizations are updated connecting to that source over Direct Query. So in the case of on-prem data sources, for instance SQL Server, this would require using the Power BI Gateway to establish that connection. And we're actually going to make improvements to the Power BI Gateway to support this scenario over the next few weeks. So right now it's not available yet, but if you try to publish a report that connects to Direct Query, you will actually see a message that tells you that you'll be able to configure the gateway directly from within the Power BI desktop, and it will give you a link to more information. So if you stay tuned for updates in our Power BI blog, or even follow this documentation page, you would see that it will update in a few weeks to give you a new version of the Power BI Gateway that will let you configure this connection against Direct Query data sources. The next new connector this month is Azure Data Lake. It allows you to connect to an Azure Data Lake store and bring data into Power BI Desktop. It's found under the Azure category, so let's take a look at it. Let's actually go into the same existing report that I was using, so I can go back into the Get Data dialog, and you can find under Azure, you can find Microsoft Azure Data Lake Store. So when you connect, you're actually going to be able to provide the URL for your Azure Data Lake Store account, and then you'll be able to actually browse all of the tables or navigate all of the tables available within your account, preview them, load them, or apply transformations just like you would do with any other data source. The last new connector this month, last but not least, is a new connector for Marketo. So for many of you who are familiar with the Marketo content pack in the Power BI service, we've added this new Marketo data source so that you'll be able to use Power BI Desktop to create custom reports against your Marketo accounts data. So let's take a look at this connector. We can go back to the Get Data dialog and go to the Other category, and towards the bottom of the list you'll find Marketo. And in this case you're going to be able to provide the endpoint for the REST API on Marketo that you'd like to use, and also provide the date to begin importing data from, so you can just bring a subset of the data if you want. Once you click OK, you're actually going to be able to browse the tables that you have available in your account, and again preview them and select one or multiple tables to load. The next category of improvements this month is data transformations. So following with our continue push on making incremental improvements to data transformations. This month we're making 3 improvements that will simplify some common tasks in the product. The first one you already got a feeling for, which is the improved function invocation experience. This is actually something that you saw when I demoed the SAP HANA connector, and you saw how I was using the parameterized queries or parameterized views within the navigator to actually provide parameter values and be able to apply them and preview the data before closing the navigator. So we're making this available for every data source that supports functions today. You already saw SAP HANA. This is also available for other data sources, such as, for instance, SQL Server, where you can expose and you can invoke value functions, and also other connectors, such as, for instance, the OData connector. If you have an OData function, you're going to be able to invoke it within the navigator and preview the output values before actually closing the navigator dialog. The second improvement this month under data transformations is an option to set credentials at the server versus database level. So you're now going to be given the chance to set which scope to apply your credentials when you connect to a database. Before, you would not get this option to select server level or database level when you were prompt. Now you're going to get this option as a radio button within the credentials dialog prompt. The last new transformation or usability improvement to transformations this month is the ability to add prefix and suffix to a text column. So let's go and take a look at this in the product. So we're going to go back to our Super Bowl champions file, and we're going to go to edit queries. So let's say that I pick the champions column which is of type text. Before this update, if I wanted to append a prefix or a suffix, I would actually have to use a custom column to go in and define the text string that I would like to append, and then use the ampersand symbol, which is the concatenation syntax in M, and actually then pass the reference to this column, which would then create a new column that I can use. Now we've added this option out of the box, so you can go under text column, you can go to format, and you can add prefix or suffix. So you can do it within the current column, which is something that was not possible before. So let's say that I want to add a suffix here. The suffix could actually be something like space minus champions. And as you can see, that just modified the existing column, which is something that was not possible before. The other way of doing this, if I remove that added suffix step, is to select the column and go to add column. And here I have the same from text options, and I can go to format, and in this case let's go and add a prefix. So we can say champions space dash space and click OK. So you see how in this case we create this new column. So 2 different ways of doing this depending on whether you'd like to modify the existing column or add a new one. It's something that was, we observed that it was one of the most commonly used transformations in Power Query and in Power BI Desktop that you would do through custom columns. And as always, we're trying to optimize and make little tasks easier for you. So hopefully this will be helpful for you in your data transformations. Let's go back to our list of improvements. So we are on to the last item under other improvements. So this is actually something that we're highlighting as really important, but it's not an actual change in the product. It's still something very, very extremely valuable for many of you, as I know. So what we're doing is updating our documentation website. Our documentation website is a great source of knowledge, but we wanted to make it even easier for you to access the content. So let's go and take a look. I have it opened down here. So this is our new documentation site. There are a few changes that we've made here that will make the site much easier for you to use. The first one is the top level navigation that lets you switch between products. So you see Power BI Service, Power BI Desktop, and Power BI Mobile apps. The moment you click into one of those, so let's click for instance Power BI Service, you're actually going to see all of the contents for the Power BI Service. When I click Power BI Desktop, you're going to see the content narrowed down to a specific content related to the desktop. The second feature in this documentation site is the table of contents that you see here on the left side, that will let you browse the different categories of content. So for instance, let's go to connect to data and quickly go to the actual topics within each category. So you can then go, let's say I want to go to create reports, and I can find the report view introduction over here. You also have search capabilities, so you can search for the items that you would like to find in the documentation library. And there's also quick links for every article. So let's go back to one article that has more content. Let's say for instance tips and tricks, maybe this could be a good one. Yep. So the tips and tricks article actually has lots of bookmarks here on the right side, so you could use this to actually jump straight into those. So for instance, let's go and take a look at better geocoding with more specific locations. It's just as easy as clicking in this set of bookmarks here on the side, or building maps, and you can jump within the current article. The last thing, which is also really important for us, is that at the bottom you can actually tell us whether this article was helpful or not, and you could even leave us some comments. So we would like to make it really easy for you to provide feedback, not only on our product but also on our documentation. We think it's really important with all of the features that we continue adding every month, that you can actually get the chance to actually ramp up and learn through our documentation site. And we put a lot of effort in keeping this site up to date and making sure that it has relevant content and useful content for all of you. Now the second major update to this documentation site is now that it's not just that we've improved this version of the site in English, but we're also starting to localize our content. So we started by localizing the top 75 most read articles to a few different languages: Chinese, French, German, Korean, Japanese, Italian, Portuguese, Russian and Spanish. And we will also be localizing the remaining articles to all of these languages by November 20th. So just later this week you're going to be able to access all of the Power BI documentation localized to these languages that I mentioned. Great, so that's all for this month. We hope that you enjoy this new update. It has lots and lots of new features, and we want you to continue sending us valuable feedback about the product. And don't forget to vote for the features that you'd like to see in the next few updates in our feature suggestions forums. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a good one.